Every phone had a keyboard. Every desk and every pocket was built around keys you could hear and feel. Then, in barely a decade, billions of fingers moved to glass, and the companies that refused to follow lost everything. BlackBerry alone watched 92% of its revenue disappear. Touchscreens didn't just replace keyboards, they erased an entire way of life, and it started long before anyone saw it coming. In offices, classrooms, and living rooms, the sound of keys was everywhere, a steady rhythm of work and communication. The typewriter's clack carried through the halls of the post-war office, each keystroke a small act of permanence. Marketing from the 1950s and 60s turned these machines into icons of productivity, their polished metal and crisp lines promising efficiency and order. The IBM Selectric, with its bold television campaigns in the 1970s, promised speed and comfort, transforming typing into a mark of modernity. To press a key was to leave a mark, both on the page and in the culture. By the 1990s, the personal computer keyboard became the new badge of digital life. Ads boasted about precision and speed, while the tactile QWERTY layout became as familiar as breathing. In the boardroom or on the subway, a BlackBerry's miniature keyboard was a signal of status, a tool for those who needed to respond instantly, to keep pace with the world. Executives and students alike learned to type without looking, their fingers guided by muscle memory and the reassuring feedback of each click. But the love for keys came with a cost. Hours at the keyboard led to sore wrists, aching shoulders, and a quiet fatigue that crept into the hands of even the most dedicated typists. Studies revealed that discomfort could steal away as much as 15% of productivity, and a cottage industry of ergonomic keyboards sprang up, promising relief with split layouts and tinted designs. Still, every solution meant more hardware, more bulk, and a reminder that the classic keyboard, for all its virtues, was both a symbol of mastery and a source of strain. The world ran on keys, but it was never quite effortless. In a quiet lab in the mid-1960s, E.A. Johnson sketched out a radical idea. What if a finger, not a key, could command a machine? His notes, now stored at the University of Illinois, described a surface that sensed the tiny electrical charge of human skin. It was the birth of the capacitive touchscreen, a concept decades ahead of its time. Johnson's circuits worked in theory, but the world wasn't ready. No commercial device would emerge from his blueprints, and for years the idea lingered as a technical footnote. By the 1980s, the first practical touchscreens arrived, but they didn't feel like the future. Resistive panels were two thin sheets pressed together by a finger or a stylus, and they showed up in ATMS and ticket kiosks. These early screens demanded force, not finesse. Jabbing at a ticket machine or poking through a menu felt nothing like the effortless glide promised by Johnson's vision. The hardware was tough enough for public spaces, but too clumsy for fast typing or handheld use. Then came the IBM Simon in 1994, a device that looked like a phone but tried to be a computer. Its monochrome resistive touchscreen let users dial numbers and tap out notes, but each press was slow and imprecise. Typing a message meant hunting for letters, one awkward tap at a time. The Simon sold about 50,000 units, a technical milestone, but hardly a revolution. Palm Pilot PDAS followed, betting on a stylus to bridge the gap. Users learned a shorthand called graffiti just to input text. Some adapted, but many found the learning curve steep. Reviews noted the stylus was easy to lose and never quite as satisfying as a real key. Early feedback made it clear. Touch could replace buttons in theory, but in practice it was still a struggle. The promise of a glass surface replacing keys was real, but the reality lagged far behind. The world needed a breakthrough, one that would finally let fingers dance across glass as effortlessly as they once danced across keys. In February 2006, a darkened stage lit up with a single glass panel and 10 dancing fingertips. Jeff Hand's demonstration at TED didn't just wow the crowd, it shattered the notion that touchscreens were slow, awkward, or limited. His projected capacitive prototype tracked every finger in real time, capturing pinch to zoom, rotation, and swipe gestures with almost no delay. Suddenly, the idea of typing, drawing, and navigating with pure touch wasn't science fiction. The technology could sense 10 fingers at once, with accuracy measured in millimeters, and latency dropping below 10 milliseconds, numbers that made stylus-driven screens look ancient. The leap from lab to living room happened fast. By 2007, Apple's iPhone hit the market, built from the ground up for fingers, not keys. Its capacitive screen let users swipe, tap, and type without effort. Predictive text software, like Swipe and SwiftKey, soon followed, slashing the number of taps needed to write a message by 30 to 40%. Typing a sentence became a glide, not a hunt and peck ordeal. For the first time, a glass surface felt faster and lighter than a slab of plastic keys. The gap between dream and reality had closed, and the world was ready to leave the keyboard behind. A single sheet of glass, once too fragile and expensive for everyday life, suddenly became the foundation for a global revolution. In 2007, producing enough Gorilla Glass for one smartphone cost manufacturers about $120 per square foot. But the chemistry changed, and so did the math. By 2012, that price dropped below $30. At the same time, indium tin oxide, the invisible grid that senses your fingertip, plummeted nearly 70% in cost thanks to roll-to-roll manufacturing that could coat miles of film in a single day. This was not just a technical victory, it was an economic tidal wave. As costs fell, device makers could offer bigger, brighter screens without breaking the bank. Carriers jumped in, rolling out $0 down contracts that let anyone pocket a touchscreen phone and pay for it over time. The effect was immediate. IDC shipment data shows that in 2014, touchscreen phones crossed the halfway mark. More than half of all handsets sold worldwide now ran on glass, not keys. Factories in Korea and China ramped up LCD and touch panel production, flooding the market with affordable smartphones. The numbers tell the story. Global shipments of touchscreen devices soared from 22 million in 2004 to 950 million just a decade later. The old guard, keyboards, buttons, and switches, could not compete with the scale or the price. For the first time, touch was not a luxury. It was the default everywhere and for everyone. BlackBerry once stood at the center of professional life, its tiny keys an emblem of control and security. But as glass displays swept the market, that symbol cracked. Over just 5 years, BlackBerry's revenue collapsed by 92%, forcing the company to abandon hardware and chase relevance in software. Keyboard accessory makers, once steady suppliers to offices and gadget shops, saw contracts vanish almost overnight. The old world of keys and switches became a cautionary tale, as touchscreen devices redrew the boundaries of entire industries. But where one empire fell, new ones rose. The touchscreen era fueled an APP economy that grew from $5 billion in 2008 to a staggering $120 billion by 2022. Designers, engineers, and user experience specialists found a new calling in shaping how we tap, swipe, and scroll. Universities launched courses in human-computer interaction. Careers appeared that did not exist a decade before. Touch changed how we talk too. Emoji, once an add-on, became a new language, now appearing in more than 15% of all tweets. Communication grew faster, more visual, and more playful. Yet the shift was not painless. Ergonomic studies began to track a new kind of strain: text thumb and aching wrists from hours of thumb typing. Accessibility also evolved, as virtual keyboards and screen readers opened digital doors for those left out by physical keys, though not every barrier fell right away. Security and privacy, once anchored in the physical world, moved to the screen. Hardware keyloggers faded, replaced by threats like screen capture malware and shoulder surfing. Even the environment felt the impact, as demand for rare metals and glass soared, raising fresh questions about sustainability. The touchscreen did not just change our devices, it rewired the way we work, connect, and express ourselves. Touchscreens dominate the present, but their reign is already showing signs of strain. Voice assistants now handle reminders, texts, and web searches without a single swipe. Nearly 70% of American adults have used a voice assistant, and over 150 million rely on smart speakers daily. For many, speaking is faster than typing. Screens themselves are shifting shape. Foldable phones and tablets bend and snap, sometimes paired with detachable keyboards for those who missed the physical click. Early flexible screens needed a bend radius of 30mm to avoid breaking. Today's models manage with just 6mm. Durability is still evolving, but the goal is clear: a device that adapts to its owner. Scientists are working to restore the sensation of touch. Tactile bump prototypes use tiny actuators to raise bumps on flat glass, letting fingers feel the difference between a letter and a blank. In tests, users identified menu items with 96% accuracy after one attempt. Ultrasonic haptics create the feel of a click in mid-air. Further out, augmented reality projects keyboards onto any surface, while brain-computer interfaces promise to turn thought into text. The fastest BCI systems reach 12 words per minute, still slow but gaining ground. Every swipe and tap rewrites how we think, connect, and create, shaping habits that did not exist a decade ago. As new interfaces emerge, the question is not what we will touch next, but how much control we are willing to trade for convenience. The future is still up for grabs.